Good morning and welcome to Rick's Retirement Journey. I am sitting outside one of my favorite places, Books a Million, Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I thought I'd just kind of do a quick video here about some things that have been kind of pondering on my mind. I made a few notes, and I know you hear that a lot from a lot of different people, but this one's called the Retirement Data Dump. And I remember the last couple of months when I was in the office in my fluorescent cage, cubicle, I'll call it that, when I started going through all my files and distributing them to my co-workers that would be carrying on with the mission per se. But one thing that I realize is that once you get rid of that inbox, once you break up with that inbox, then literally retirement is freedom from all that stuff right there. And it felt pretty good going through there and deleting things and passing them on to somebody else. Excuse me. And just kind of explaining to them, what it's all about and, why they may want to hang on to it or the importance of it, etc. So, yeah, breaking up with that inbox was a big mission. But after about a couple of months, I was able to complete that and move on. But, sometimes you got to ask, well, what is a data dump? Well, it's basically, going into your files and finding out those things that you've accumulated, for so long. At my last position, I had worked there for a little bit over 10 years, 12 years. I lose track of time sometimes, but I know I had finally got to a point where I had emails from as far back as 2009. Now remember, I retired in 2024. I had emails from 15 years ago. And I had to ask myself, why do I still have this email? Is it affecting anything that I'm doing right now? And in many cases, it wasn't. It was just a reminder about a policy that was no longer in effect, just in case someone had made the mistake of going by that policy and just saying, hey, sorry, but that policy is no longer in effect. Some of the other files that I found in there, excuse me, were version 1, version 2, version 3, final version 1, final version 2, final version 3. And so there were a lot of those. Especially when it came to either documents or PowerPoint presentations. And I finally got to the point I ended up deleting so many of those. But the other thing that was interesting is that when I was going through the files, it was almost like a history of software. What software were we using back in 2009 versus what we were using in 2024? If you've been around the workforce for a long time, many of you may remember WordPro, or, geez, I can't think of any of the others right now. But I know that we ended up with, this is not endorsed by Microsoft Word, and that whole suite of things that Microsoft put out there as a package that we were using. So I mean, old folders, old files. It was just too crazy. But I finally got rid of a lot of those things. You have to ask yourself, why did we hang on to this stuff? And there's only 3 words that can describe it. Just in case. Just in case I might need this file later. Just in case this file comes up in a conversation. Just in case this email is mentioned in a meeting or something like that. So just in case were those 3 words that caused me to hang on to so much stuff. And well, at the end of my time, those 3 words, just in case, they were deleted, just like all the other files that were there. So I just got rid of those. But yeah, it was just bad, and just in case. But I will say this: as I continue to delete files, and I saw the number of files being reduced, 1 by 1, 5 by 5, 10 by 10, I started feeling a whole heck of a lot better. Seeing a folder full of 300 or 400 files slowly being deleted, and while looking at them. Not saying that I opened up each and every file just to review it, but like I had mentioned earlier, Final 1, Final 2, Final version 3, etc., I was able to delete 4 or 5 files at a time, if not more, and just to determine by the title of that file whether I really wanted to keep it or not. And it felt so good just to be able to delete chunks of files instead of just one by one, and it really felt good. To a certain extent, it's actually therapeutic. It's almost like trimming a tree. You see some dead branches here and there, and you trim them off. It's almost like my tomato plants. I was looking at my tomato plants this morning, and tomorrow's the first day of fall, September 22nd, and I see some of the leaves starting to turn brown. So when I get home this evening, I'll go out there and I'll trim some of those brown leaves off and things like that. But yeah, cleaning out files is just like pruning a tree, pruning a plant. You're not really killing it. In fact, you're just helping it continue to grow until that first frost comes. So, but in some cases, I had to determine what was really worth keeping, and I had mentioned that earlier. Those files that I determined were worth keeping, I just passed on to my fellow coworkers, and because I knew to a certain extent it would prove important for them to be able to review something. But many of those files were more recent files. Nothing from 2009 was going to be of any importance to them in 2024. So I was able to just pass on some of those files to them that would make it much easier to do their jobs. I mean, there were some emails that were pretty good, that I wanted to personally keep because they were worded well, very, very creative. There may have been some photos I wanted to keep from past events, whether it was a conference or a war game or a travel trip or something like that. Yeah, I kept some of those, but I also passed those on to some of the people that may have been in those photos, because eventually, those memories will fade, but they will have them. And many of my coworkers are actually younger than me. I mean, many of them are younger than me. So I just basically had to just let some of them go, delete some of them, especially if they were repeats. If you got repeats of the same document or the repeats of the same photos, and you have like different little shifts of, the images and things like that, pick the best one. Get rid of the rest. Going through the files was like going through a journal, a memoir, that you had put together. But at some point, as an editor, you were just going to have to go in there and start editing those things that were no longer pertinent, that you just needed to get rid of. And, you preserve the more meaningful stuff, but you just get rid of the stuff that's, again, dying on the branch, trimming those little branches off, getting rid of the brown leaves, and just keeping the stuff that's really, really, really important. When you slowly move into retirement, or when you go right into retirement, going back and deleting, doing that data dump, deleting those files, it's not about erasing your past or anything like that, but it's more like curating it. And I use the word curating because, as I may have mentioned earlier in another video, I also volunteer at the National Museum of the Marine Corps. We have a curating section that collects items from from around the world, anything that has to do with the Marine Corps and their history. And the great thing is that they go out there and they have done an outstanding job getting a lot of those items. But at the same time, they cannot collect everything. They cannot save everything, because we would end up having just warehouses and warehouses and warehouses of stuff. And it just doesn't do that. So basically what I've done is that I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff. I've curated a lot of the stuff that I've had. I've passed on a lot of the stuff, but bottom line is that there's when you finally get to that point of retirement, there's nothing better than just doing a data dump, going through your files, going through your manuals, going through your desk. I went desk drawer by drawer and I got rid of a lot of stuff. So bottom line, do that data dump. If you're not retired yet, do that data dump. Start now. Don't wait until later. If you're retired like me and you're still hanging on to a lot of that stuff from work per se, and there's no indication that they're ever going to contact you or anything like that, do your best to go through there and get rid of a lot of that stuff. I tell you, it's like trimming that tomato plant. Save the best for you, pass on some to others, but get rid of those brown leaves, get rid of those things that are no longer pertinent or important, or that you'll never use again. Believe me, you will not wonder 5 or 10 years from now, geez, I wonder whatever happened to that document. Oh, I must have erased it. You're not going to think about it. I know I don't think about it anymore. So, hey, that's it. I've got about 10 minutes, then I've got to jump into one of my favorite places. By the way, this is not sponsored by Books A Million, but I will say it's my happy place for at least the next 5.5 hours. Go in there, speak to some customers, sell some books, walk the floor, get my steps in today, and that's about it. So, as my friend Wanderwood Sam Toasty, who's out there on hiking the Appalachian Trail, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a good day. And if you have an opportunity, please like, comment, share, subscribe. And until next time, hey, Rick out. Have a good one. Bye.